Welcome to Animate the Past. Today we journey back to 480 BC, where a small force of 300 Spartans and their allies faced the mighty Persian Empire at the narrow pass of Thermopylae. A story of courage, sacrifice, and resistance that still inspires the world. Imagine a world on the brink. The Persian Empire, a colossus of power, stretched from the sun-scorched sands of Egypt to the lush rivers of India. Its ruler, King Xerxes, called himself the King of Kings, a man whose ambition knew no limits. His armies were a force of nature, tens of thousands strong, their footsteps rumbling like thunder, their ranks so vast they seemed to drink rivers dry. Across the Aegean Sea, Greece stood as a fragile mosaic of city-states. Athens with its fledgling democracy and soaring ideas. Sparta, a land of warriors forged in iron discipline. Thebes, Corinth, Phocis, proud, fierce, and often at odds. Yet when Persian envoys arrived, demanding earth and water as tokens of submission, the Greeks answered with defiance. In Sparta, they hurled the envoys into a well, shouting, "Find your earth and water there!" This was no mere rebellion. It was a stand for freedom against the shadow of domination. Xerxes burned with a hunger for vengeance. 10 years earlier, his father, Darius I, had been humiliated at Marathon, defeated by a smaller Greek force. The sting of that loss drove Xerxes to dream of crushing Greece, of adding its city-states to his empire like glittering jewels in his crown. To achieve this, he launched a campaign of breathtaking scale. Across the Hellespont, the narrow strait dividing Asia from Europe, he ordered a bridge of boats, a marvel of engineering that mocked the gods themselves. When storms tore it apart, his fury was legendary. He ordered the sea whipped, branded with hot irons, as if nature could bend to his will. A second bridge rose, and his army, perhaps 150,000 warriors, from Medes to Scythians to the elite immortals, crossed into Europe. To the Greeks, it felt like the end of the world. Imagine a world teetering on the edge of oblivion, where the Persian Empire, a juggernaut of power, sprawled across continents, from the sun-scorched deserts of Egypt to the fertile rivers of India. Its ruler, King Xerxes, the self-proclaimed King of Kings, commanding an army so vast it seemed to swallow the earth itself. With perhaps 150,000 warriors, Medes with their curved bows, Scythians with their gleaming spears, and the elite immortals, clad in scale armor, marching like a relentless storm toward Greece, their footsteps rumbling like thunder, their ranks so immense that ancient tales claim they drank rivers dry, driven by Xerxes' insatiable ambition to crush the Greek city-states, and erase the bitter memory of his father Darius I's defeat at Marathon 10 years earlier, a humiliation that fueled his dream of adding Greece to his empire like a glittering jewel in his imperial crown. In Sparta, warriors were not born, but forged in the crucible of the agoge, a brutal training regimen that began at age 7, where boys were torn from their families to endure hunger, cold, and pain, taught to wield spear and shield, to fight as one in the phalanx, a formation of overlapping shields and 8-foot doru spears that transformed men into an unbreakable wall of bronze. Their lives shaped by a discipline so absolute that death was seen not as a foe but as a companion, a way of life that produced soldiers of unmatched skill and resolve, ready to face any enemy, no matter how vast. When the call came to confront the Persian tide, Leonidas handpicked 300 Spartans, each a proven warrior, each a father with a son to carry on his legacy, a deliberate choice to ensure no family line would die, a calculated stand not for glory, but to buy precious time for Greece to rally its forces, a mission of sacrifice that spoke to the core of Spartan values, joined by 700 Thespians, volunteers from a small city with no obligation to fight. 400 Thebans, whose loyalty was questioned, and perhaps 1,000 others from Phocis and nearby regions, this force of some 7,000 marched north to Thermopylae, a narrow pass known as the Hot Gates, for its steaming sulphurous springs, where towering cliffs met the churning waters of the Malian Gulf, creating a bottleneck barely 50 feet wide at its narrowest, a natural fortress where the Persians' vast numbers would mean nothing. The Greeks arrived at Thermopylae under the August sun, their bronze armor glinting like a beacon of defiance, and set to work rebuilding an ancient stone barrier, the Phocian Wall, to anchor their defense, forming their phalanx with shields locked tight, spears gleaming, every man knowing the odds stacked against them, every man knowing the cost of their stand, yet choosing to hold the line, their resolve as unyielding as the cliffs above, their hearts steeled by the knowledge that they were not just fighting for themselves, but for the future of Greece, for the ideals of freedom and independence that defined their world. The Persians arrived like a storm rolling over the horizon, their banners fluttering in the wind, Median cavalry with thundering hooves, Scythian archers with drawn bows, and the immortals, Xerxes' elite guard, their scale armor catching the light, while the king himself watched from a throne atop a hill, confident his numbers would sweep the Greeks away like chaff before the wind, his eyes gleaming with the certainty of victory as he sent his Medes and Scythians first, their ranks swollen with conscripts from across the empire, men from distant lands pressed into service, their weapons no match for the disciplined unity of the Greek phalanx. On the first day, the Persians unleashed a barrage of arrows that darkened the sky like a deadly storm, meant to break the defenders' spirits, but the Greeks crouched behind their shields, letting the shafts pass harmlessly overhead, their formation unbroken, their resolve unshaken. When the Persian infantry charged, the phalanx held firm, spears darting forward with lethal precision, piercing flesh and armor, repelling wave after wave, leaving piles of bodies at the base of the Phocian Wall, the ground slick with blood, the air thick with the cries of the fallen. For 2 days, the Greeks held, repelling every assault, even against the immortals, whose curved blades and elite training faltered against the unyielding phalanx, their numbers meaningless in the narrow pass, their attacks breaking like waves against a cliff, the hot gates becoming a graveyard for Persian ambition, a testament to the power of Greek discipline and courage. Each spear thrust a declaration that freedom would not yield. Each shield raised a symbol of resistance against the empire's might. But on the 3rd day, betrayal struck like a dagger in the dark. A Greek named Ephialtes, driven by greed or fear, approached Xerxes with a secret, revealing a hidden mountain path that wound through the cliffs above Thermopylae, known only to locals, a route that could allow the Persians to outflank the defenders and surround them completely, a betrayal that would turn the tide of the battle. Xerxes seized the chance, dispatching his immortals under Hydarnes, their footsteps silent in the pre-dawn mist, moving with deadly purpose through the rugged terrain. And so, betrayal looms over Thermopylae. Ephialtes has revealed the hidden path, and the fate of the Spartans hangs in the balance. But this is where we pause our story. The battle is far from over, and what happens next will decide the destiny of Greece. Wait for the next part, where we'll dive into the final stand of Leonidas and his 300 Spartans, a clash that turned Thermopylae into a legend for all time. Until then, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Animate the Past, so you won't miss the continuation of this epic saga.